Hello and welcome to Boudica Books, where we discuss the lives of Canadian women both in reality and in fiction. Today I'd like to talk about fiction, specifically Margaret Laurence's A Jest of God. This book, right here. Good enough cover, there we go. Yes, this book. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. It has wonderful characters who you can actually believe in and thoroughly fleshed out. Even the secondary characters are thoroughly fleshed out with idiosyncrasies and faults and secrets and mysteries that are amazing in a book that's literally this big, but all the secondary characters are fleshed out. It's amazing. I simply just adore this book, and I recommend it to anyone who enjoys good character development and a really good plot. What is the plot, you ask? Well, basically, Rachel Cameron is a 34-year-old teacher living in Manawaska with her ill mother, and she is what I would describe as socially anxious, and it's about how she learns to find her own will and find her own way in the world. She starts off extremely afraid of people, extremely shy and withdrawn, always criticizing herself, always condemning herself, always feeling that what she was doing, what she was feeling, was the wrong thing to think, feel, and say. At one point in the book, let me see if I can find it here. I believe it's page 139. Yeah, here it is. If I had to choose between feelings, I know which it would be. But that would be a disaster from every point of view, except the most inner one. And if you chose that side, you really would be on your own, now and forever. And that, I think, couldn't be borne. Not by me. I have never read anything in fiction so far that describes the denial of self more accurately and thoroughly than that paragraph. She's saying that I have to choose that which I think, what's going on in the outer world, what other people are telling me, instead of what I feel inside. And that is just tragic. And that's where she starts from in the beginning of the novel. I know, 139 pages in, she's still there. But she definitely makes a turnaround and grows, mostly by learning that she doesn't have to be perfect, because she thinks that something happens. I won't give away the plot. And she finds out that there are still people who will stand by her, who consider her a friend, and will support her no matter what happens in her life. That gives her the strength of will to start living her own life. And I think it's an absolutely beautiful story for that reason alone. I mentioned earlier her mother. Now, if you ever want to read a description of a passive-aggressive woman, read this book. Her mother is definition passive-aggressive. She describes herself as someone who always only looks after everyone else, not herself. But everything that she tries to do for everyone else benefits her. And she uses guilt like it's a shield and sword. It's actually scary sometimes how well she wields it. And it isn't until Rachel learns how to defend herself against that and makes her mother's guilt blunted. There's no other way for it. Can she escape her mother's power and domination over her? And it's wonderfully the way that it's worked in, because it's not over your head. It's just this constant thread. And that's how passive aggressiveness works, is that they're just constantly on you and not disagreeing with you, but throwing out those guilt trips to make you feel this big for doing and thinking the way that you do, because it disagrees with what they want you to think and feel. So I also really enjoyed that. You couldn't help, well, I felt anyway, a certain amount of pity for the mother as well, because she was trying so hard to maintain control when she really didn't have any. All of her control was illusory and dependent upon Rachel's social anxiety, her own doubts about herself. Once Rachel learnt to have a will, her mother no longer had any power at all. and lost everything that she had counted on. So it's an interesting dynamic between the two, with that struggle over power gradually coming over to Rachel. By the end of the story, Rachel says, "I am the mother now," and describes her mother as her elderly child. And in many ways, her mother is an elderly child because her mother cannot take care of herself. She relies on Rachel to feed her, clothe her, pay for her expenses, look after her, make sure her health is well. So she is her elderly child, and she had to step up and take that responsibility, but that also meant taking away that power from her mother, which was very, very difficult for Rachel to accept. So, in conclusion, this is a wonderful book. I will also be posting a review on my blog, BoudicaVlogs, which I'll post a link to in the description below. So you can go and check that out if you would like. Please let me know what you thought of Margaret Laurence's Jest of God, or any of the other books that I have reviewed so far. I'm dying to know what other people have thought and if they enjoyed it. Thank you to the commenters who have commented in the past. I've enjoyed our discussions, and it's always nice to get some feedback as far as the different books that I'm reading. I always wonder, am I the only one who sees it this way? So it's great to get some feedback on that. So anyway, I wish you happy reading, and remember, you're all beautiful.